Yeah, Chris Thompson's with us. He's a board member here for the Fullerton School District. And we want to talk, this whole show is about giving all of you facts. And we're using Fullerton as an example. But this really is symptomatic of probably every school district in the state. You have teachers with a sweet deal, and they're out screaming because they want more. Or they won't accept a pay freeze, or God forbid, a slight pay cutback. They just want you to pay more taxes. And there's 6 taxes on the table. Not only a sales tax, income tax, car tax, but an extra tax on the wealthy, a corporate business tax, and an oil tax. So they got a 6-tax attack that's going on. Chris, how are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for coming out, you guys.
Yeah.
Chris is an elementary school board member, so they have different levels of board members here in Fullerton. And he approached us, and I think one of the first things Chris said to me was, well, I'm the anti-union guy. And you did get elected in November?
Yes, I did.
How did that work against the union money?
Well, as far as we could tell, I was the top vote getter, so...
and you were blunt about your positions?
Very blunt. Yeah.
What's wrong with this union that represents the Fullerton teachers?
Well, I don't know that there's anything wrong in comparison to the union at large. Like every union, they fight to not allow us to pay teachers differently. We can't take into consideration their performance. They fight for all kinds of laws to prevent us from firing the worst teachers. I believe that one of the biggest problems with public education is that we can't get rid of the bottom. You know, waiting for Superman, a Stanford professor said that if we terminated the bottom 7% of teachers in the United States, we'd go back from the 30s to second place ahead of Finland amongst industrialized nations for testing in math and science. And it takes 2 years, 2 or 3 years, and upwards of $250,000 to fire a teacher in Fullerton. And you know, I'm not allowed to talk about any details, but there are people that we would like to get rid of. And when you start facing the reality of legal fees and investigation fees and processes that take you 3 years and hundreds of thousands.
And why would you like to get rid of these teachers? What's bad about them?
Well, I mean, you can't. How do you give a kid 6th grade back? You know, I mean, at the bottom. You know, if you go through 12 years of public education or 13 years of public education, K through 12, and if 7% of the teachers are quote unquote bad, you know, you're going to have 1 or 2 years on average with a bad teacher, and we can identify a lot of them. It's not a perfect science, but we can't get rid of them. We have not gotten rid of a teacher. We've not fired a teacher in Fullerton for more than a decade. I actually can't, I'm a board member, and I can't get the answer to the question as to when we actually terminated a teacher for performance. I have gotten to say it's been more than a decade.
It may have never...
So it takes a crime, is what you're saying, maybe?
Yeah, I actually think, you know, a minor crime may not do it.
No, I mean, sleeping with one of the kids.
Yeah.
That's usually when I see a teacher
now I don't know about any of that going on.
Actually, they're only put on administrative leave. If they're caught in bed with one of the kids.
What made you run? I mean, why did you decide?
Well, I've been fighting for, you know,
you got kids in there, right?
I've got a daughter in 7th grade, and I have 4 kids, and 2 have graduated from local high schools, and 1 is a freshman in high school, and other in my elementary district in 7th grade, and I fought a number of issues over time. I mean, the biggest problem is just the fact that the unions have so much power, and probably the best opportunity that we lost, in my opinion, was paycheck protection. When Schwarzenegger backed paycheck protection before he caved.
And explain that.
Well, paycheck protection says that when you are a teacher, the union has a right to take a certain amount of money of union dues and spend it on political activism unless you fill out a form that says, I do not want to do that. And the social reality of those unions is such that most teachers are afraid to fill out that form because they become targets. In states where paycheck protection was enacted, like in Washington State a decade ago maybe, you would have a state where 92% of the teachers donated to union political action funds, and when the law passed, it went from 92 to 8. And in California, in 2009, the top political donor in the state was the California Teachers Association at $209 million. The number 2 donor,
$209 million.
$209 million.
That's all racist.
All the Democrats.
Why didn't they redirect that money for the children? $209 million.
Well, you know,
a lot of pencils and bucks, huh?
When the union presidents get on the radio and you know put out figures of stick figure teachers with apples on TV and on the radio saying it's all about the kids, I don't know how it could be all about the kids when
it's not.
Well,
it's about them. It begins and ends with them.
Let me try to tell you a real brief story. About 8 or 9 years ago in Fullerton, a teacher was caught by the state guiding children through cheating on Sat 9 tests. State informed our district that erasures from incorrect to correct were more than 2 standard deviations away from the norm. They came in, asked parents to come in, brought kids in, interviewed them. The kids said, oh yeah, the teacher said everybody that didn't mark B, raise your hand, and she'd say Johnny, Sally, Susan, Mark, erase, you know, whatever you wrote to B to get it correct. They proved it. I actually don't know if she still works for the district, but she worked for the district for many years thereafter. They didn't fire her.
Intentionally trying to juice up the standardized
better
test.
scores for her kids reflects better on her.
Well, you see, that's the bottom line, is with all the money the teachers get, standardized test scores are abysmal in California.
I will brag, in Fullerton we have excellent test scores, and we even have excellent test scores in most of our schools.
Oh, you've got damn good salaries too.
We have very good salaries, and we have very good teachers, but they're not all great. And I'm not here to say that teachers aren't. We have great teachers, but we've got some bad ones. And we've got, you know, it's a bell curve. We have some great ones, we have some average ones, and we've got some bad ones. And all I'm saying is, allow us to pay teachers based upon at least some degree of performance. And I'm trying to take baby steps. I'm saying, you know, can we take 5% of total compensation, which one of you mentioned 80% of compensation. In the Fullerton Elementary District, 89% of our budget goes to salaries and benefits, almost 90%. Oh, wow. So I'm saying take 5% and allow us to apply that to some sort of a merit. 89%. And by the way,
see, this is what I'm saying, though. If there's a shortfall of money, you don't have to close schools. What you need is the workforce to take maybe a small pay cut for a period of time until the economy improves, which is what happens everywhere else in life.
My message to the best teachers in California is, why are you engaging in this humiliating behavior of backing a union that says you are the same as the average or the worst? Don't you, you know, you want to make a lot of, I have no problem. Teachers that are so skilled, so talented that you could throw 200 or 300 kids, you know, maybe in, and I'm not, you know, I'm not a curriculum guy, but maybe, you know, in the 70th to 80th percentile in geometry or something, into a multi-purpose room, and that person could say, I will teach them better than anybody else you have. Give me 5 classrooms worth of kids, and pay me $200 grand. But your cost per child is going to be a fraction the way you're doing it now. That's illegal. That's off the table. So, you know, teachers are always...
Actually, I read a story the other day in the New York Times. In Japan, they do something like that. Maybe not quite to the extent that you laid out, but they have larger classrooms, and they pay the teachers more, and the kids do better.
Well, and let's be clear,
because it matters is the chemistry between the teacher and the students.
Stop for the news. We'll come back. We'll talk more with Chris Thompson. That's who you're listening to. He is on the Fullerton School Board for the elementary schools. He just got elected in November, and he made it very clear when he ran. He's not a friend of the teachers union, particularly the big, powerful California Teachers Association. So we're here in Fullerton. We're looking at a few more red shirts show up every now and then as they get ready for their planned rally at 4 o'clock. We're in Hillcrest Park at Breyer and Harbor. Well, we're here.
We're here. Come say hi.
There's already like 100 listeners here.
Road in Fullerton, we're awaiting the start of a teachers' protest here because they declared a state of emergency. They moved it from downtown at Harbor and Chapman, so they moved it to Hillcrest Park. And we're at Harbor and Brea, and we're at the Brea entrance to Hillcrest Park. There is a parking lot here. We've attracted a fair number of people. It's not an organized event. We're not doing a counter-protest. We're here just to cover their rally, the teachers' rally, but you're welcome to come.
They're walking away. I wonder if they're moving.
Yeah, they're scattered pockets.
I saw them talking to the Fullerton police.
You're trying to avoid
rally
us.
when we are not.
Yeah. So we're talking.
We want to hear what they have to say. We want to get some of the noise. We'll follow them. We'll find out.
Yeah. We're talking with Chris Thompson here. He's a board member at Fullerton, and he was elected on an anti-union platform, I guess.
I mean, is that really
a pro-taxpayer platform? Yeah, pro-taxpayer. You know,
because that's something we haven't talked about. You've made excellent points about how hard it is to fire a teacher, how hard it is to get the competent ones out of the classroom. These are all great points. The reason we're here, and we're looking at this at the big picture. These taxes affect everybody. They're statewide. You've paid enough. That's it. The tax increase 2 years ago was humongous, and of course we're told it's temporary. Now they want another 5 years. Hell no. And that's all we're trying to say here. And the teachers are going to, you know, the one that came up to us a few minutes ago, they're talking about, well, how much do you think I should be paid? That's not the issue. It is up to the politicians to figure out what to do with the tax money that's available and stop asking for more. That's all we're saying.
No more taxes.
They want to pay you a raise out of the money that comes in without raising taxes, fine, but we're not giving any more.
You talk to teachers union leaders, I would guess.
All
the time.
Yeah.
Are they as single-minded and militant as they seem when they're doing a public event?
You know, that's really the interesting thing. When you get them one-on-one, it's very difficult to change their minds. I mean, when you go for many, many years being told, the problem is they think they can't be fairly evaluated. They are convinced that there is no good way to fairly evaluate.
So they don't get evaluated at all?
Well, they get evaluated, but there's no fair way to tie any portion of compensation to evaluation or firing.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's no matter what evaluation you come up with, you can't be fired. So there's no consequence for doing a bad job.
And I try to argue, look, I agree, there will be anecdotes. If we loosen this up and we can fire you or pay you different amounts of money, there will be anecdotal instances of making a mistake. But that's true in the private sector as well.
All the time.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Well, you know, it's actually a trick. If you can't be perfect, then we can't do any evaluation, which is nonsense.
That's right.
There's no mechanism in the world that is perfect, but you have to have evaluation mechanisms. And certainly when the LA Times printed the test scores from year to year under the same teacher, clearly some teachers consistently did better than others.
Absolutely.
And they adjusted and it turned out it didn't matter whether you had a master's degree or not. It didn't matter whether you were in a rich district or not. It didn't matter about your experience teaching or not. It turned out that there was just a certain talent that teachers had, and it was reflected in the scores. And for other teachers, they just stunk year after year.
And and I forget the exact number, but it's 5 years, 7 years, something like that.
Yeah.
But certain statistics suggest that teachers tend to maximize their efficiency, at some point relatively early in their career. And yet,
just like everybody else.
Yeah,
you do hit your maximum ability at some point, and then you stay at that level. For the most part.
This teacher, who will know who she is, has a husband that's in another district who won Teacher of the Year in another district, and her husband's on the chopping block, Teacher of the Year in the district last year. He's on the chopping block in his district and looking in another. And, he was a great value to the taxpayers because he was one of the best. And,
why is he on the chopping block? Lack of seniority?
Well, they need to make cuts and they need to increase class size. And when you increase class size
but why him?
Last in, first out.
Because he has relatively few years. Yeah.
What do you expect to accomplish then on this local school board?
Well, it's
school board. I mean, clearly, other things you're talking about are statewide laws as well.
Well, one of my heroes is Steve Greenhead, who you guys have host for, and he was really one of the guys that taught me, nothing's happening at the state, and my co-board members tell me all the time, this stuff's all fine, but you're fighting in the wrong place. Go fight up at the state. But the state legislators aren't going to do anything if all of the school board members down at the local level are just rank and file following
the day you decide that nothing's ever going to change, you're guaranteeing there's never any change.
There's
always change. You look what's happening in the Middle East, and this country's falling like dominoes, and they were under an extremely oppressive government for decades. You just have to have a critical mass of people saying, you know what, we're not putting up with this anymore. It's going to change.
Yeah, well,
and then it does.
Yeah, so, and I am not on any career path here. I have no idea if this is going to lead to some recall attempt on me. Go for it. I'm not here because I'm in some career political path. I'm here because I'm just sick of watching the single largest component of our state budget be under attack by a teachers union that just has us massively inefficiently allocated.
The only thing you can really affect then would be the local teacher union who would negotiate with you guys.
Well, I think I'm affecting more today.
Well, I just meant in terms of your daily job here as a school board member. You would only be dealing with whatever the local school union is for the elementary schools. What do you hope to accomplish there?
I hope, at the 11...
What are you going to say no to? That's what I'm asking.
I am going to fight for lower salaries now because I have no other option that serves kids and taxpayers.
You believe the salaries for the elementary school teachers are too high?
It's not that the salaries are too high. It's that the only things I can touch are class size. Well, that hurts kids. Programs, that hurts kids. Furlough days, that hurts kids. The only thing I can touch that doesn't hurt kids is the salaries that were negotiated by the teachers unions. That's giving me no flexibility about how I pay those people. That's all I can do.
And again, 89% of the money you take in goes for salaries,
Yeah.
benefits, pensions, for teachers, administrative, and staff.
And when you talk about public,
I don't think people really get that.
They don't get it.
It's almost entirely a labor-intensive operation.
and the degree to which this nation has moved to a country of public employees, and where we are now of, by, and for the public employee, I lost my train of thought.
No, you're right. You're right. No, we have become there's a two-tier system in the state where the public employees are protected. They have gilded contracts. They
Fixed
have
pensions.
Fixed pensions. They can't get fired. They get what did we find out the other day? The prison guards start with 8 weeks of vacation a year. We start with that 8 weeks of vacation a year.
Yeah.
We know teachers are off 16 weeks a year, just for starters. There,
Yeah, you know,
by
and
the nature
I
of the
don't want-
calendar. I mean,
I'm not attacking the teachers for being off for 16 weeks a year. I'm attacking the and they say, well, it's not us, it's the unions. Well, most of you show up and support.
oh no! I'm past that. The teachers are the union. If the union does
That's
something,
right.
it means a majority of the teachers want it done. So that's a dodge. That's because they're personally uncomfortable with the way they're being portrayed and with all the facts that are coming out.
Yeah.
So an individual will say, well, that's not me, because she doesn't want to be represented that way. No, it is you. Because we had these teachers call in all the time and say, look, I agree with you, John and Ken, but I said, when was the last time you disagreed at a union meeting?
Yeah.
I never, because then they give you dirty looks.
I'm
and the teachers
ostracized.
like,
We've got to take it. Let's break. Jerry Brown says we need to sell ads.
That's right, got to sell ads, because remember, we're doing this for ratings here. I want everyone to be clear.
All the things you hear from. All right, we'll be back. We're in Fullerton, as we promised. We're not sure when or where this rally is going to be for the teachers, the local teacher unions here. We're at Hillcrest Park, the mayor of the harbor. And we'll cover more when we come back.
Johnny Ken Show, KFI AM 640.